And good morning and welcome to Steel News. This is somewhat of an emergency broadcast. I'm certainly interrupting my normally scheduled programming to bring this very important show to you today. I'm Ann Vandersteel, and we're going to be stepping into one of the most controversial war crime cases of the modern era. A case that did not just shape the Balkans, but helped define how international justice is applied in the 21st century. General Ratko Mladić, the former commander of the Bosnian Serbian Army, was indicted in 1995 at the height of the Yugoslav wars. He would spend nearly 16 years in hiding before being arrested in Serbia in 2011, transferred to The Hague, and put on trial before a United Nations tribunal. That trial began in 2012, and 5 years later, in November of 2017, General Ratko Mladić was convicted and sentenced to life in prison. In 2021, his appeal was denied. The conviction stands. The charges were very severe: genocide, crimes against humanity, a campaign of terror against civilians during the siege of Sarajevo, and the mass killing of approximately 8,000 Bosniak men and boys in Srebrenica, where the tribunal ruled constituted genocide. These are among the most serious allegations under international law. But this case was not built solely on direct orders or documented commands. Prosecutors relied heavily on legal doctrines such as joint criminal enterprise and command responsibility, frameworks that extend liability beyond direct action into what a commander is said to have known or should have known. The tribunal also characterized the siege of Sarajevo not simply as a military operation, but as a prolonged campaign of terror against civilians, citing shelling, sniper fire over several years. That is the official record. But it is not the only perspective. According to the defense, there were irregularities in the trial. They point to disputed evidence. They point to procedural concerns. They point to disagreement from within the court itself. These are claims, they are contested, and they are significant because they raise questions not just about one man, but about the integrity of the process itself. And those questions lead us somewhere much, much deeper. What happens when justice, due process, and human dignity collide? Because now, nearly 30 years after the indictment and more than a decade after the arrest, this case has entered a new phase. One not about war, but about how a man should die in custody. And that reality forces even a more difficult conversation because Yugoslav wars were not fought in a vacuum. They unfolded at the intersection of NATO intervention, Western intelligence interests, regional ethnic conflict, and shifting global alliances at the end of the Cold War. So today, we're not here to rewrite history. We're going to be here to examine it, to ask some questions that are rarely asked in full view of the public. Was justice truly served? Or was this just another example of victor's justice, where the legal standards applied evenly or selectively? And what responsibility does the international system carry, not only in how it prosecutes, but in how it treats those it condemns? Joining me now is Darko Mladić. He is the son of the general, Ratko Mladić, and he has spent years challenging the findings of the tribunal and advocating for what he believes is the truth about his father's case. I'm glad to have you here with me today. This truth starts right now, so folks, please stay with us, share this show out. Let's get this information widely shared because the truth has two sides, and a lot of times the truth meets in the middle. Darko, thank you for being here today.
Thank you for calling me.
Absolutely. So currently, if I could just summarize your father's current condition, he's in prison in the United Nations prison in The Hague. He's been bedridden for the past couple of years. He's had several strokes. You've witnessed yourself personally after just coming back from The Hague, visiting him, cognitive decline. He's losing his ability to speech. The prison medical care has massive limitations, and your family is definitely declaring inadequate treatment and the withholding of records and, of course, limited access to the doctor. Tell me right now, when you saw your father recently, what condition do you want to further describe him to be in at this point?
Well, I returned yesterday from The Hague. I was with him just yesterday for 3 days, and he is actually dying there. This is now not disputed even by the UN doctors. And he's very, very fragile. He had apparently another stroke 2 weeks ago. It happened during our video call, and I alarmed the guards. The guards called the medical service, and they transferred him to the civilian hospital. From this stroke, he temporarily recovered, but 10 days ago, he again started deteriorating, and now he's in very, very difficult position. Can speak only by whisper 2 or 3 words, and he's very weak.
So he can communicate with you, but it's very, very difficult, probably hard for you to hear at this point. Is he able to comprehend what is happening to him?
Well, mostly, yes, but actually he can only answer to the questions with yes or no, sometimes giving confusing answers, so he's not even cognitively all with us. He's, I think, shutting down slowly.
Do you believe he's getting the best medical care at the facility?
Well, unfortunately not. I think his condition for more than 2 years now, it is too complicated for prison hospital conditions. They cannot give him constant monitoring. He cannot receive emergency help because there is a language barrier. He don't speak English. He can't speak any language anymore. So I was when the doctors are coming to examine him, they are using the interpreter by phone.
Mm-hmm.
So this interpreter cannot hear anymore what he's speaking. I was present in some conversation, and I was the interpreter at the site, because the phone interpreter could not hear what he is saying. So he cannot receive for a long time adequate care. And now, after this last incident, last stroke, now even the UN doctors are agreeing with that he is dying, and they are not capable to give him enough care he deserves, he needs.
Okay, so you clearly have concerns about the treatment he's receiving in this UN prison. Have you been given full access to his medical records?
Well, that is another issue we are struggling with from the day one he is in the prison, because he was transferred in the Hague, suffering from another stroke, maybe month and a half before that, and he was clearly not capable of being trialed, but that was a very hot political issue then, and the government of Serbia of those times ignored his condition and just transferred him to the Hague. And from the start, they didn't release any documents we should have, because the medical documents are his own property, and he cannot be denied of his documents, as any patient cannot be. But at first we didn't receive any documents. I even received some kind of threats from the UN medical officer then, and he told me if we try to use his condition as to be unfit for the trial, that they will lock him in the house for lunatics, and then he will be dead in 3 months. So this was my first collision with their medical service there. And after that, we had periods in which we partially received some partial documents, almost always with very, very long delay. For example, the last, let's say, documents, meaningful documents we received before this case was in June last year. And since I am the one who should make the choice if he's not capable of making choices, I cannot make those choices without the accurate medical documentation. So now we received with the 7 days delay the actual documents. Still not all the documents, because we just received the reports from the prison hospital, which are actually interpretation of the results and findings which were gathered at the civilian hospital. Our doctors cannot contact this civilian hospital and cannot see the actual recordings and findings. The only record what the doctors received was the actual EKG of the heart of my father, and they didn't have the opportunity. They only visited him and spoke with him, and just what they could do with the stethoscope, and they then consulted with the medical officers in the prison hospital, and that's it. They couldn't never have doing the any scan by themselves. So there is a lot of open questions. We definitely don't see the complete documentation at this point.
Well, have there been any independent doctors allowed to fully examine him, or any limitations that are being placed on your family by this medical team?
Well, at the start of the trial, the judges appointed the so-called independent two doctors, but these independent doctors actually are there to be, let's say, on the side of the UN medical officers, because we have a right to engage our own medical team as long as we pay for it, which we did all the time. But the judges actually consulted this so-called independent medical team, which was always in line with the UN medical officers. So it was always 2-1 against us. So I don't consider them as a medical team.
Okay. Absolutely. What happens if your father is not released in the near future? I know you've been appealing this.
Yes, well, he's going to die. It's not a question anymore, because the UN doctors also said that he is at the end of his life, and it's only the question: if he stays there, he will die very soon. And if we have some different decision about him, because today we are filing this motion to release him on the grounds that he is dying. Because only yesterday, our doctors could visit him, and already today we received their reports, and we filed a motion to release him, because we as a family would like to have him here in Serbia and try to prolong his life even in a few weeks, if possible.
Well, is it accurate that he must be considered terminal before the release is granted? Because I believe there's other examples of other people in similar situations that have been released only at the very end.
Yes, we have the both cases. We have several people like Brjanin, like General Pavković, who were released at the very end. Brjanin died the day after he was released in the civilian hospital in Banja Luka. And General Pavković died 3 weeks after his release last year in the military hospital in Belgrade. On the other hand, we have two examples when accused or sentenced men were released in time. they also have very serious illness and considered incurable. But since they have received proper treatment here in Serbia, they are still alive. So, we, in our case, last summer, when we applied for early release due to ill health of my father, we received one new criteria which was not used before, which was actually invented only for my father, where the presiding judge asked that he has to be acutely terminally ill if she is going to release him.
Mm-hmm.
But I would like to ask the question: if you're denying somebody opportunity to get a better treatment and maybe prolong his life, maybe even save his life, is this criteria then actually death sentence? So we had 2 years ago, almost to the day, my father went to coma because he had a kidney failure, which was provoked by the mistake of their doctors, which they never accepted, but it's obvious. And then also we applied for early release, and only by miracle my father survived. But since then he's bedridden as a consequence of this incident and never left his bed. And it's a real miracle that he is still alive. And then 2 times after that, we asked for his release in the April of 2024 and in the June of 2025. And we were denied by this criteria that somebody should be certain of his imminent death in order to release him. So then is the question, what kind of sentence and judgment is that? Is maybe like some kind of revenge, not the justice.
Sure. Absolutely. Well, I know this would mean a lot for your family to bring him home now so that he could live out the last few days, weeks of his life with family.
Yes.
What do you want the world to understand about General Ratko Mladić at this moment?
Well, at this moment, just to understand that he's a human being who has the same right as every human being should have, and that if UN advocates human rights across the world, these standards for every human being, which should be applied and for which the UN is standing for in different countries and in different international organizations, those same rights should be applied also to one person, no matter what his sentence is. And we as a family now just would like for him to come home and to be with us and for us to be with him in his final days.
Certainly. I believe what you're witnessing right now really is a final chapter of a case that began nearly 3 decades ago. But
Yes.
I think this chapter may have somewhat of an ending that has a lot of questions as to the case itself. So what I'd like to do right now, Ratko, is talk about the case from a legal perspective. We want to sort of challenge the structure and the credibility of the case that was made against General Ratko Mladić years ago. You were your father's translator, and you heard everything. You understand the indictment, the arrest. You've done translation for him, even up until the point he's still under the care of a UN prison medical unit. Let's talk about the conviction and the appeal. It is correct that the presiding judge on appeal actually disagreed with the conviction. Can you explain a little more about that?
Yes, he actually accepted all of our points of appeal except one. And this one was taking hostages, UN staff as hostages. She actually found him guilty only by this account. And
of only taking hostages.
Only taking hostages.
Okay.
She agreed with our all our points, other points on the motion, including that my father was not responsible for genocide. And she had the strongest possible authority at this point within this chamber, because she was present from 2009 in the tribunal, and being presiding judge in some other cases where she could hear the basis of the evidence from the prosecutor. So she was the most she know the most details about the case.
Mm-hmm.
And she could understand, for example, where we had problems with the translation for some, let's say, video material, in which there was a substantial difference between what my father said and what the actual interpreter from The Hague cited there. So she had a few points which were clearly on our side, and citing that the process was flawed, that the evidence did not connect my father with those points. Maybe I can cite some
Well,
of the.
how significant is this dissent in legal terms then? Because, you know, your father has had some significant labels by the, by the media for being somebody who genocided a lot of Islamic young men and older men, frankly. I think 8,000 or something, some big number like that.
Yeah.
What you're telling me is that there was a translation corruption in the court, and that the top tier
For
judge.
some of the evidence, for some of the evidence.
Okay, that's significant.
Very significant, because it just turns the context around. Because if there was a meeting in Srebrenica between civilian representatives in Srebrenica with my father,
Mm-hmm.
in which he said that they can decide for themselves. They can stay in their houses. They will not have a problem. If they want to leave, they will be secure to leave. But only those who have weapons and fire on our soldiers, they will be destroyed. But the interpreters actually interpreted it as a threat for them to must leave Srebrenica or be destroyed. So it's a significant difference. But this is the only drop in the ocean. You know, we had a very big problem with the bias of the judges, some of the judges. For example, we had this in the first sentence, we had the presiding judge, Alfonsori, who was Dutch citizen, who actually, as a Dutch citizen, could not be could not be his judge. He was actually in earlier stage, he was defendant of one of the accused, and then suddenly turned out to be judge. And he actually was using the educated facts from the cases before. He had the judge before, and he was actually in conflict of interests. So, for example, for the Markale, in the case of Mladić, he had a sentence in which he sentenced the Serbs about this incident. Then he was the judge in our case, in which he ignored our evidence, our experts, even the UN experts we brought, who clearly stated that it was not possible from the Serbian positions to fire this grenade, who made this incident. Sorry, my mother is calling from the Hague.
I'm so sorry. Do you want to take it? Take a break?
No problem. I will call her later. No problem. Just.
Were you present for the appeal proceedings, Darko?
Yes, I was. But the appeal was, in COVID, during the COVID, and I was not present when the appeal was, and when the secondary sentence was.
Your attorney wasn't present either.
Yes, we had problem with the COVID because the Serbian attorneys could not be present. They were in Serbia.
Mm-hmm.
And attorneys who were present could not communicate with my father. So he was denied the opportunity to consult with them. But regarding this, the first stage of trial, we had a problem because this judge actually, after the evidence were presented, judged upon these so-called adjudicated facts from the other cases in which my father could not defend himself. And furthermore, he cited his own sentences in different cases. When we appealed for him and asked for him to be dismissed because of the bias, the other judge, Mladić, he decided that he is not biased. But in the second stage, this Judge Mladić was found to be biased because he and few judges, actually before my father was even sentenced, made clear public statements that he would pay for his deeds, and clearly stated their bias. So we had a situation in which one biased judge decided that the other judge is not biased, and to this situation to be even worse, in the May of 2022, now this judge Mladić, he is the presiding judge of the mechanism. When my father was asking for early release because of the treatment, and when my father was asking to be released in Serbia, I must cite this. It's from the documents on the trial. The judge said, "Yes, okay, but let's wait until I am in heaven, and maybe you can pray that." So this is the judge from the Hague Tribunal, how he's dismissing my father as a request for release, because already then he was very, very ill. He suffered from COVID, among other things, and this is how those judges, this judge was deciding who is the biased judge and who is not biased.
Sure.
So these proceedings had been very biased against my father from the start.
So you believe that this outcome of the case was already predetermined, right?
That was obvious. That was so obvious because even from the start of this war, and when the Hague Tribunal was founded in 1993, my father has started to receive some offers to cooperate, and the tribunal was a threat. So it was already used as a pressure against our position.
So are the rules from where you're sitting and what you can see across the board, are these rules actually being applied consistently across similar cases?
No. They have changed their rules so many times. And I think my father is the one of the convicted persons on which case the rules were changed most of the times, including not only the proceeding rules and the trial itself and appeal trial, but these humanitarian issues as his health is, and as even in this stage, we are not certain that he will receive a fair decision and to be granted to came to Serbia to die.
What legal options remain for securing his release? And does his medical condition give you any additional options at all?
Well, our only option now is, as we did just today, to file this motion for early for release because of his bad health, and we did everything we can. We sent the doctors. So today, the new thing is that even the UN doctors are agreeing with our doctors that my father is dying and he's at the end of his life.
Right.
So I don't see how can deny us today if they respect the UN rules about human rights.
And therein lies the conundrum. Has this case become more symbolic than legal for you and your family?
Well, my father is actually at the heart of this symbol. It's the symbolic case from the start more than legal. And the legality was denied from start to finish regarding the trial, the relations with witnesses. Our witnesses were denied. Our witnesses were ignored. We had witnesses like Ambassador Yasushia Kashi, like Ambassador Cutiliero. Those were the guys who actually were in the rooms when the decisions were made, and they were on the defense side. But the judges in this first stage of the case, led by this Judge Alfonsori, they actually ignored it all. So they had a narrative which were created in the media before the trial even started, and actually those proceedings they had used only to confirm the narrative, not to deliver the justice.
Mm. What should the world be paying attention to right now, Darko? Because what happens if no action is taken?
Well, now my father is dying and his life is at his end. I think that the most important thing is that UN should follow the rules who apply to everybody, not bend the rules according to some political agenda or some political pressures. And this former tribunal for Yugoslavia was some failed experiment in which many errors were made. But I think and hope that this will be like lesson learned, not to bend the rules according to policy interest of any interested party, but to follow the rules universally for all people equally.
That's what they say. All people are equal under the law. Frankly,
Yeah.
God, I think
God.
God believed that too when He created the earth and man.
Yes.
He made us
Yes.
all to be equal and to be free. And to
Yes.
be free. We've come so far from that, it seems. It seems we're so far from what the expressed intent purpose of God's creation at this point in time. War is a terrible thing, but as we now know, generals and others engaging in the business of war a lot of times are made out to be puppets and sacrificed. A mutual friend of ours, General Flynn, knows all about that, and that is who
Yeah.
connected us today. So for that, I am grateful for this opportunity to speak with you, Darko. We'll hold your family in prayer for at least the peaceful transition that the UN's human rights say everybody should get. We'll see if that actually happens. I do believe that the information that you presented, we only briefly touched on the surface of it, but I do believe that the other side of the story and the fact that this trial seemingly has evidence to prove that it was not a fair trial needs to be further explored, and hopefully that will be something your family will continue on for your father's legacy as well.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Darko, thank you very much for joining me this morning. I appreciate that. And God bless you and your family.
God bless you, and thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. What an incredible story. You actually heard from General Ratko Mladić's son, Darko. You heard the claims. They're pretty serious claims that challenge not just the verdict, but actually the system behind it. Remember, the UN is supposed to be the arbiter of human rights. My travels around the world, witnessing the weaponized human migration, will tell me that's not exactly what the UN stands for. Let's be really clear here. General Ratko Mladić was indicted in 1995. He was arrested in 2011. He was tried over 5 years, finally convicted in 2017, and his appeal was denied in 2021. What you're now hearing raises a lot of questions that go way beyond one man, one war, or one courtroom. Justice isn't just about the outcomes. We got to look at the process. We have to understand, is it fair? We got to know whether or not the rules are being applied evenly, even after decades have passed. Right now, we know there is one man in prison in The Hague who is bedridden, who has suffered multiple strokes, who may not have much time left. And his family is asking for medical care. They're asking for some dignity. They're asking for the chance to bring him home. And the system just says, well, wait until it's too late. So here's the question we're going to leave with you this morning. After nearly 30 years, is justice complete, or is there still something left unresolved? Because the true measure of any system is not how it begins, it's how it ends. We're going to follow the story some more. I hope you all will continue to join us as we do. Until then, next time, I'm actually live again at 1 o'clock today with a very interesting story. Yet another example of government targeting the people that it's supposed to help and protect. Color me shocked, I know. Have a great afternoon or good morning, everybody, and we'll see you again in just about an hour and 10 minutes. Thank you.
Food security or food sovereignty. Every time we buy food, we choose. Glyphosate exposure is exploding, and people are asking, why is food so expensive? This is why we do what we do. Organic fields, thriving orchards, the purest ingredients straight from the earth. From our farms to your family, we do the testing so you don't have to. You save time, you save money, and our regenerative farms continue to grow. It's time to remove what does not belong, rebuild with cleaner inputs. Support the farmers with the future in mind. This isn't a trend, it's a shift. We still have a voice. We still have a choice to vote with our dollars for a healthier America today. Tap the link.
Are you ready to take your health back? At vandersteelhealth.com, I trust Purium's powerful superfoods to fuel my body with clean, plant-based nutrition. And in a world filled with toxins, Biomedic is designed to help support your body's natural detox process, even from glyphosate exposure. Real nutrition, targeted support, no junk. Go to vandersteelhealth.com and take control of your health today.